Hello, and welcome to your 2022 Black and Gold Dynasty League Week 1 matchups. We're going to go right into the first match we have here is the Blake Bortles fan club taking on the reigning, defending, two-time Black and Gold Dynasty League champion, the Cheswick Zombies. Again, they're taking on the Blake Bortles fan club. The QB matchup here is pretty tight. Experts have Zombies ahead with Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott, which I think are great plays, but with Dak having a bad matchup this week against Tampa Bay, Jameis has a great matchup against Atlanta, and I think Derek Carr is massively underrated this year. He's going to be in a shootout with the Chargers. I like them to put up some points. I'm going to give the slight edge to the fan club at QB. Moving on to running back, we have old men Ezekiel Elliott and Leonard Fournette on the Zombies, helmed with Joe Mixon leading the pack in his youthful legs. That's a pretty formidable three there. Elliott, Fournette, Mixon taking on Damian Harris, Cordell Patterson, and nobody else. That's all the running backs they had at the fan club. This one's a runaway, not even close. Zombies with a double check. Lock it in. Wide receiving core for the Zombies. We have Rashad Bateman, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, and Chris Godwin. Looking like he's going to play this week, coming off ACL injury. Didn't think he'd make it, but it looks like he'll be ready to go, catching those beautiful, overly, perfectly inflated footballs from Tom Brady. They'll be taking on the quite respectable and a little long in the tooth receiving core of the Blake Bortles fan club, helmed by Mike Evans, also catching those beautifully inflated footballs, and Amari Cooper catching footballs from that probably will not be beautifully inflated by, what's his name? I can't even remember. Jacoby Brissett. That's who's throwing him footballs somehow. And then you got Brandon Cooks coming up third in the lineup for them. He's putting up sneaky good numbers year in and year out. I definitely got to like the Zombies receiving core here, but it will be closer than the tape says. At tight end, it won't be close because the Zombies will have Mark Andrews, the best tight end in football. The tight end number one, no chance he's losing to Kelsey this year. Not even possible. He'll be taking on Zach Ertz, who has a pretty good matchup against the Chiefs, and with DeAndre Hopkins out, he's going to be getting peppered with a bunch of targets. But I think Andrews wins the day there. And finally, we come down to the Colts and the Niners, both with great matchups on defense. That'll be pretty even. Anybody's call. Overall, I'm going to give it to the Zombies. I think it's close at quarterback and kind of close at receiver too, but after that, I do think it's pretty one-sided. So we'll go with the Zombies there. Next up, Raging Hartons at Robert Downey Jr. It's a pretty close matchup. Robert Downey Jr. coming off first pick of the league, led by Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. That is a dynamic duo of quarterbacks. It might be the best duo in the league. I'd have to look, but I don't think you can top that really. That could easily be the number one and number two quarterback of the league this year. We'll see what happens. Taking on the Raging Hartons, helmed by old man Matt Ryan and Ryan Tannehill. That's a word connection there. I think both those guys are going to do well, but they're not going to do as well as Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers are. Josh Allen kicking off Thursday Night Football, coming out wanting to prove something against the Rams. I think he's going to light them up. At running back, though, it gets a lot better for Raging Hartons, who always have a strong backfield. Used to run the four horsemen back there, but now they're down to three, it looks like, with Alvin Kamara, Ramondre Stevenson, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who could be huge, could be meh. It's really a huge question mark. I think I want to say he's going to have a good year, but I've been burned before, so I'll hold judgment. For the RDJ, however, he has rookie sensation Breece Hall, the first pick overall in the draft, helming his running back lineup with Elijah Mitchell and Devin Singletary behind them. I'm going to give this one to the Hartons at running back. At wide receiver, the Hartons have Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Juju Smith-Schuster at his new home in Kansas City, and sneaky wide receiver Robert Woods, who for some reason I feel like he is injured, but maybe I'm wrong about that. We'll have to see. I don't have the injuries up in front of me. For Donnie, though, he has Marquise Brown in his new home in Arizona. Chase Claypool taking on the Bengals. Could be a high-scoring matchup, but will Trubisky, the Steelers' starting quarterback, be able to get it done? Going to give that one to Hartons receivers. And at tight end, I definitely got to go Hartons with Darren Waller catching passes from Derek Carr. I think he's in for a good year. We're going to have Devontae Adams and Waller stacked up. Lots of points against that Chargers D, who should be better than they were last year, but very easily could not be. For defense, though, I think they're both going to be bad. I got Dallas for Hartons and Chargers for Robert Donnie. That could be messy on both sides. They got tough matchups, a lot of high-scoring points. Overall, I'll give it to Hartons. It's going to be a good match, but I think Hartons will pull this one out. This video will be a little longer. I'll try and speed it up as usual. I'm going off the cuff this week. I'm going to try and keep them coming so I don't have to do the prep work. I can just get on here and riff for you. Our third matchup of the week. Jets Junk with the daunting task of taking on the highest projected points in the ARG. Hopefully Jets Junk will be able to turn it around into a more formidable team this year as they're building a nice youthful player base. Maybe they can be Bills treasures at some point, but for right now, the Jets Junk moniker holds true as Daniel Jones and Tua Tagovailoa are at the QB room, and both those guys are average. I don't think Tua is going to do anything special. If anything, he could be good just because the weapons around him are good, but I don't think he's anything great. On the other side, however, you have Patrick Mahomes, who might be the best quarterback in the league, and the up-and-comer Trevor Lawrence. With Urban Meyer out of the picture, will he have a better year? One would think. He was pretty much the Andrew Luck of his day and kind of flopped a little last year. It was a little disappointing, but I think he'll turn it around. He's too much talent to really flop that bad. At running back, though, this gets a little gross for the ARG. So, Jets Junk, Travis Etienne. That's a great running back. Good, respectable name. David Montgomery, going to score you some points. That's it, however. And on the other side, you have Saquon Barkley, week 1, healthy, going against the Titans, which is a tough matchup in Tennessee. But that's just one running back. The four horsemen of this team are Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams. Javonte could put up a ton of points against Seattle in Seattle. I could see them getting ahead easily and just running the clock out. That is going to be a lot of points between those four players. Not even mentioning the 30-point average that Christian McCaffrey gets every year, every week that he's healthy. And then we go on to wide receiver. This is so one-sided. Sorry, Bill. This is not a good matchup. Anytime you're going to be playing the ARG, it's not a good matchup for the other team. At wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, tight end, Kyle Pitts. Jets Junk has Jalen Waddle up and coming. Amon-Ra St. Brown up and coming. Michael Pittman could have a huge breakout year. Christian Kirk got signed for all that money. God knows why. The receivers on the other side is stud after stud after stud after the most valuable tight end in Dynasty football and Kyle Pitts. You got to go Arik here. It's not even close. He's also got Patriots taking on the Dolphins, while Junk has Rams taking on the Bills. Not great matchups for either. Both pretty average, but I'd even give that one to New England. Moving on. We have Jamarvelous Chase at the Steelers. And on this page, I do not have a lineup in for the Steelers. So we will start with Jamarvelous Chase. Helmed by, there's a dynamic duo right there. The young studs at QB, Joey Burrow, throwing the ball to Jamar Chase on the same team of the namesake with Kyler Murray as the QB2. That's insanely solid. Kyler Murray could have a huge game this week at the Chiefs, or versus the Chiefs. So at home, trying to keep up with that high-scoring offense. Chiefs defense always a little suspect. And Joe Burrow taking on the Steelers, who that could be a tough one. It's in Cincinnati, but Steelers defense looks primed for a huge year. He has all the weapons around him, though, including Jamar Chase, who's on the team. Other receivers here, Cooper Kupp, best receiver in the league last year. I think he could do it again. He was that dominant. Everybody knew he was getting the ball, and you couldn't stop it. It's hard to argue against him repeating as wide receiver one. It was an Antonio Brown-like year last year for me of Cooper Kupp. Also, Michael Thomas, Mike Williams. I think Michael Thomas could have a great, big year. I don't know why. It's like people forgot how insanely good he is. I know he's wackadoo and hurt all the time, but he is an absolute monster. He was the best receiver in the league, or second best receiver in the league for 5 years, and he just turned 30, I believe. So it's not as if he's old and over the hill and washed up, been dealing with some injuries. I think he turns it around, has a good year. I could see him sneaking back in as a number one wide receiver number one, top 10. But to top it all off for the Jamarvelous Chase lineup, coming in at a total projected points of 190.29. Travis Kelce at tight end. Acquiring them from the Cheswick Zombies was a nice pickup. Really solidifies Jamarvelous Chase's chance at winning that title this year. It's a key piece you need, and there's not a lot of pieces that are more key or pristine than Travis Kelce. I think he's going to have a little bit of a down year with the lack of Tyreek Hill. I think defenses are going to say the one guy that can't beat us is Travis Kelce. The question is Andy Reid able to get him as open as Sean McVay was able to get Cooper Kupp open all last year? If you can scheme it right and he can just get those points and get the targets, he could dominate and have a better year than ever. I have the opposite belief. I think he'll be a little worse, but he'll still be a top 3 tight end, no question. For the Steelers, they have Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz. Yeah, there we go. I was like, it looks like Kirk Cousins and Mason Rudolph. Yeah, Carson Wentz, respectable duo. Definitely not a Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray duo, though. In the backfield, Nick Chubb heading up with Aaron Jones. That's 2 workhorses there. I think Aaron Jones in for a big year, catching a lot of passes. We're going to give that running back matchup for sure to Steelers, even though I didn't even mention Chase's RBs of Akers, Gibson, and Josh Jacobs. Solid, but not as good as Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones. For the Steelers wide receiving core, new wide receiver 1 for the Chicago Bears, Darnell Mooney, and sneaky good wide receiver Hunter Renfrow. I like Hunter Renfrow as much as I also like the other Steelers wide receiver, Adam Thielen. I think they're both in for a good year. I think Renfrow could do about the same. It's hard to predict. There's a lot of targets to go around. Devontae Adams comes in. You know he's going to eat. That's tough to judge who's going to get what. But those 3 receivers, you have Allen Lazard maybe possibly being a top 10 wide receiver this year turns into the next Jordy Nelson, the next Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers. It's hard to argue his track record of just making guys be unbelievable studs in fantasy. And if Allen Lazard is the guy this year, then forget about it. He's going to put up major points. And lastly, they have Brandon Ayuk for San Fran. I don't know that he'll have a great year, but he has a good matchup at the Bears this week. Should put up a good chunk of points. At tight end, they have Dalton Schultz and Pittsburgh's defense. Pittsburgh's D, I like them a lot, but going into Cincinnati, that's a tough matchup. I'm going to give this edge to Jamarvelous Chase. All those projected points, that receiving core is crazy, and the QB is really the big advantage here. But if I had to pick one crazy upset of the week, it would definitely be Steelers upsetting Jamarvelous Chase. I like their players. I think Thielen and Lazard, I think those guys are all sneaky good and could easily put up enough points to overcome. And finally, at the end of this long slog of a video, it's 16 minutes. My Lord, is the feature matchup of the week. Brother versus brother. Snarl versus resting bitch face. Darren versus Greg. It's the Murphy Clash 22. Right out week 1. I love having this in the first week matchup. Gives you something to get excited, get pumped for. Both teams looking to turn it around. Snarl and Resting Bitchface last battled each other in the first week of the playoffs last year, trying to make it in for the last spot. Snarl was victorious, so Resting Bitchface will be looking to get his revenge with a younger crew, it seems like, with Trey Lance and Justin Herbert at quarterback. However, Snarl, not one to shy away, has Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson in Seattle. That's going to be a fun night, Monday night. I think he will absolutely light them up for so many points. I don't know why his projected points are 11 on here. I think he's going to go into Seattle and show them what they have been missing, what they could have had. He has all the weapons around him in Denver. I think he's going to put on an absolute show. Could be QB1 opening week. Trey Lance, Justin Herbert, absolutely great duo. I'm going to give the edge to Snarl, though, with Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson. Jalen Hurts just came out and was putting up great weeks, week after week last year. They're going to Detroit. It's an away game, but Detroit's defense is very bad. Jalen looks primed for a lot of points there, especially with new addition A.J. Brown. Moving on to running back here, we have Dalvin Cook, Chase Edmonds, and James Conner for the Snarl. And some guy named Derrick Henry I almost missed. A lot of rumors about Chase Edmonds coming out as a big weapon for Miami. We'll see if that pans out. Derrick Henry will be dominant as always, taking on the Giants defense, which I believe is pretty suspect this year. And Dalvin Cook also going to put up points as usual. No big deal against the Green Bay Packers. On the other side of the ball, however, Resting Bitchface sporting an equally good running back core of Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor. That could be better even. It's hard. That's a tough matchup right there. That's my favorite matchup of the week, is these two backfields of Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and James Conner or Chase Edmonds. Snarl has all four going up against Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, and Jonathan Taylor. Should be exciting. Very close to see who wins there. I'm going to give the edge to Resting Bitchface. I think that there's just going to be too many passes caught by that backfield, and it's going to add up. Moving on to wide receiver. For the Snarl, we have DJ in Detroit, DJ Shark, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Lockett. I think Tyler Lockett's in for a rough year. I don't know what Seattle's going to do. They're going to have a bad year up there. However, on the other side of the ball, Resting Bitchface has Keenan Allen and not much else, with Nico Collins, Sammy Watkins, and Marvin Jones pulling up the rear. this should be a pretty dominant performance for Snarl's wide receiving core. And tight end, you have George Kittle taking on Dawson Knox. I think Knox has good potential, but he is no George Kittle. Kittle hasn't had a lot of good games with Trey Lance under the center, but you got to imagine he's going to get the ball. They're going to get him the ball. He's going to get points. He's just too good to not have consistent week-to-week point scoring. So for that, the main thing here, big difference, wide receiving core, I'm going to give it to Snarl overall. That is my official prediction video for week 1. Sorry it took so long. 20 minutes is insane. If anybody watches this, you're amazing. I will try much harder to keep the video limit down in the future. Thanks for tuning in this week. I'll see you next week.